A lot of times, mediocrity is the order of the day. So any excellence trounces that sector and you leapfrog to leadership. Why are there 3 W's? I mean, there may be many, but for me, these are the 3 that guided me. And the first W is what I call way power. Way power for me is how to inculcate and imbibe and explore, learn and unlearn the industry in which you are and the specific function you are in that industry. Whether you're a technology person, whether you're a finance person, whatever your entrepreneurial pursuit is, be the best in it. Show the way. Way power. Why is that key? Because a lot of times, mediocrity is the order of the day. So any excellence trounces that sector and you leapfrog to leadership. The second W is willpower. Essentially, always going the extra mile. You fall down 7 times, stand up 8. And many times people will tell you, Austin, give up this thing, many people have tried it, you are not suited for this. Always say, let me try one more time. Perhaps that was the secret behind the success of the electric bulb by Thomas Edison. Success is not final and failure is not fatal. It's the will to consistently plow along that counts. The third W is what I call weight power, and that speaks to patience. Patience to see the seeds you have planted grow, flourish, and become fruit, and you can reap abundantly. Most times, we rush out to eat our seeds, and as such, we deeply shortchange ourselves. So if the first W, which is way power, speaks to aptitude, which is your knowledge, the second one is attitude, and the third one is patience. In exhibiting these 3 W's for success, what I realize is I exchange affirmation for accomplishments. It's always easy when you get like, even if you are not your genuine self. I exchange security for significance. Sometimes you get locked in your comfort zone, but you need to reach out, discover new grounds, and grow. I traded short-term victory for long-term sustainability. It's not a 100-meter dash. It's always a long-distance race. The 3 W's: way power, willpower, and weight power.
Hello, and welcome this wonderful Tuesday morning to Market Insight. I am Lavina Emma. On Market Insight, we bring you stock market analysis, commodities, and currency updates. Now, recently, there has been a rise in the prices of grains and other essential commodities, in addition to hoarding and artificial scarcity of items like rice, maize, millet, and gari in different parts of the country. Now, this has led to protests in Niger State, Kano State, and Ondo State, to mention a few states that have been protesting. So to solve this problem, President Bola Tinubu has ordered the immediate release of over 102,000 metric tons of various grain types from the Strategic Reserve, which is the government reserve, and the Rice Millers Association of Nigeria. So, that being said, on today's show, we will discuss this man-made crisis, solutions, and businesses in this situation. Join us after the break.
My name is Dr. Rafiu Oladipo.
My name is Baba Jalal Repega.
I'm Reverend Juliet Benite.
I'm Godio Didi.
My name is Professor
Sook News is on the ground, loading.
Very enlightening, very educative, and entertaining.
Thank you to Sook News.
So I'm happy that Sook TV has come into existence.
I'm happy to be here in the Sook News.
I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel and keep watching news that makes sense.
As Browning said, one's extension of one's reach should not exceed one's grasp, or what is heaven for. And I think Sook News is doing that.
Africa needs a voice of truth, and Sook News has become one of them. And get ready, get ready, get ready.
And keep watching.
Keep watching Sook News.
Keep watching Sook News. It's a place to be.
Keep watching Sook News.
Welcome back. Now, to proffer solutions to this man-made food crisis, I have a guest joining me via Zoom. Mr. Emmanuel Abusin is my guest for today. He is the CEO of Trema Agro Services Limited and the Director, Pan-African Institute of Management and Agribusiness. So Mr. Emmanuel Abusin will be joining me to discuss this further.
Thank you so much.
Emmanuel Abusin.
Thank you for having me.
Can you hear me, Mr.
Thank
Emmanuel?
you for having me.
Well, I
Yes, I
said
can hear
welcome
you.
to Market
Thank you for
Insight.
having
It's
me.
good to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you so much.
Okay, that's good to hear. Well, so like I said during my opening speech, I talked about the increase in the prices of grains like maize, millet, rice, and gari, and how this has affected the livelihood of citizens, and how this has also made these grains inaccessible for them to get. And where the grains are available, the prices have been increased. So because of this situation, President Bola Tinubu has told all that the storage reserves should be opened up, and the Rice Millers Association of Nigeria should also open up their storage reserves so that grains will be easily accessible to the citizens. So that being said, Mr. Emmanuel, do you think that this will solve the scarcity of grains in the economy right now? Will it solve this matter? Can I have your thoughts on this, please?
Okay. It is two-way. I would like to say it has two sides of the coin, especially when we're talking about immediate solution. It seems to want to address an immediate solution, but on the long run, we're still going to come to bear the consequences. Especially if I'm going to share my opinion without being politically biased and being objective, without being subjective on this matter, I will say that our system, and looking to our shortage in terms of data collection, it's not too a good policy for us to open up our reserve. All we need to do is to address what is affecting the current market shock. Why do we have market shock that is causing this hike in price? So that when we address that properly, then we can all know if opening our reserve was meant to be a solution, or we're just trying to attend to an emergency without considering a lot of factors around this particular intervention. We have seen a lot of the interventions in Nigeria, and at the end of the day, often it gets little impact, or let me say little impact. We've seen the Angle Growers program, what later turned out to be. We have also seen other interventions like the fertilizer interventions for farmers. We've seen how it come out to be. So I would say let's address what is causing the current market shock that is causing this rise of food in Nigeria.
Okay, so yes, thank you for that, Mr. Emmanuel. But if you were the president of Nigeria, how would you handle this situation differently to actually solve the price of the hike in grains and also hoarding by traders? What will you do differently? Here's your thoughts.
Okay, all right. Let's look at what is currently happening in Kano State, where we had citizens protested that there is high cost of living, only for it to be discovered that in that same Kaduna, in that same Kano state, there were people hoarding food how will I put it? Coming to say that ECOWAS and United Nations asked them to store food for them. So we need to verify this information. Now, we cannot be hoarding food. We cannot be talking about export when we don't have food sufficiency. So if I was to be the president, we just need to come back to the drawing board to see how we can support smallholder farmers. Then again, the sense, what are the two major reasons currently? With, first of all, cost of production, which has to do with fuel. Now, we also look at climate change, then conflict and insecurity. And this is the reason why many people are hoarding food, because they believe that production, we're going to have issues with production. Production will be limited. Now, if production is limited, for example, this is a country where we consume over 6.5 million tons of wheat, and we're only producing around 420,000. I want you to see the gap in our production and our consumption. Now, if we now have issues around insecurity, around conflict, we talk about the herders-farmers conflict. We're talking about insecurity in some states like Zamfara, like Taraba, Jigawa, Adamawa, that most farmers cannot go to farm because we have bandits who tax them. So if these issues, if we can solve these issues, then we also look at smart farming. We also look at proper data collection. So if I was to be the president, what I need to tackle first is insecurity, so that our production, we can now boost production. Then we now, so when we tackle insecurity, we now look at supporting smallholder farmers who constitute over 60% of the farming population in Nigeria. Now, most of the large farmers, most of the political farmers in Nigeria that often get the loans or get interventions that intercept the interventions coming from the government, don't even farm for our local market. Most of them farm for the international market. They do the smuggling of food out of Nigeria, passing through some of these borders that are porous, like passing through Adamawa, passing through Jigawa, passing through Taraba, to take food outside the country. Meaning what we're even producing is not enough, and people are smuggling it out, which are the big farmers. So when we support the smallholder farmers, we can now affect our current supply and demand chain in Nigeria. I think this is some of the things we also need to look at. And then for these people who are hoarding foods in Kano that has been caught, we need to get down to this to the downroad. Is what they said, the agreement they had with the United Nations or the ECOWAS, is it true, or this is just an escape route to make them dodge the consequences? And then our judiciary need to be effective. Nigerians we need to build trust again we need to build trust. Another big commodity we lack in this country is trust. The citizens don't trust the government. The government perhaps might not trust the citizens. I don't want to, but the citizens currently don't really trust the government. So most of our interventions are not giving us the result that we need. So we need to just look at this, like I said, the issues making causing the market short, which is climate change, insecurity, high cost of production. That we cannot be running palliative, on a big economy like Nigeria. So we should still sustain the subsidy to make things so we can start looking at other ways to improvise. We cannot keep giving palliatives to number of people. We're talking about 71 million people who are really, really poor. Then over 133 million Nigerians are facing poverty in one dimension or the other, multidimensional poverty. So palliative will not solve this problem. We just need to address these issues head front. Talk about power, we address it head front. We talk about high cost of living. We just have to address some of these things head front. Insecurity. And again, we also look at, because of this, some of this insecurity, a lot of prophecies, a lot of predictions that there will be food scarcity, there will be food famine, is making sellers, middlemen, what they have to send to the market. And if these issues are not properly treated, we might not be able to get results.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Emmanuel, I do, yes, I understand what you have just pointed out, but there was a key point that you made out there. You said small farmers are not actually producing enough grains to ensure that it goes round the populace, our local people here, before exporting these grains. So how do we educate these farmers to ensure that they increase their production of these grains so that it can go around our population? Then we can, afterwards, it can be exported to other countries, please. Your thoughts, please.
All right. All right. So I think we need to, when we look at our empowerment system in Nigeria, our empowerment system is not that effective, because we are talking about financial interventions when our population are not mentally empowered, are not socially empowered. So like I mentioned one time, I have a triangle I call the triangle of empowerment, which has to do with financial empowerment at the top. We have mental empowerment beneath one of at the side, then social empowerment. Most of our farmers are not that empowered. Then we also talk about we are our extension service workers. We are low on extension service workers. So government needs to do a level of empowerment by public-private partnership to boost extensive workers to train these farmers on how to cultivate properly, how to apply the fertilizer, insecticides, pesticides, and all of that, so that they can have high yield. Now, when we look at cassava farming, for example, when we look at cassava farming in Nigeria, 1 hectare, what our yield for 1 hectare in Nigeria is different from that of Tanzania. Tanzania have higher yield than Nigeria. So when we are talking about supporting smallholder farmers, we need to go beyond just providing them inputs. One of the things the Nigerian government has done over time is providing inputs, either by sales in subsidy or by empowerment in terms of free empowerment. Now, if we're going to address this heads on, what I will say is our empowerment should also come in terms of encouraging cluster farming, cooperatives. Now, in Nigeria, it's only in Nigeria you see that when we talk about cooperatives, many Nigerians want to bring in their family member. A man wants to bring his children, even the one yet unborn, because he has the feeling that when we have cooperatives, the government is going to give us more money. But when we have farmers who are really farmers coming together to form cluster, now it is easier to now transit these small farms to become bigger farms, because now these small farms are now have merged together to form cluster, sharing costs, sharing the risks, then also sharing the profits. So which can later now move from manpower. Instead of using manpower for farming, we cannot introduce mechanization. Now, the Ministry of Agriculture in every state often have tractors allocated to them. Now, these tractors should be readily available for farmers to be able to have access to, in terms of when they want to lease these tractors, there are tractors they can lease, because these small farmers cannot provide these tractors themselves. And a lot of many private businesses cannot provide a number of tractors that is needed by this market. So instead of our commissioners to keep these tractors on their farm for personal use, they should bring it out for the people. Local government should be empowered. We have the Algon, we have the Nogi. So these associations should be empowered to meet the needs of their local communities. Every local government has a local government chairman. They have wards, so we can form a system. And now these are some of the services we are trying to provide in Niger State, in Kaduna State, in Plateau State, and also we're still looking at Kogi State, especially then also Nasarawa State, because these states are relatively secure and they have vast land. So when we form cluster, making the smaller farmers form cluster, it's easier for them to be empowered, because many of them cannot even pay for some of these services in terms of paying for how they call it, extension service workers. No, some of them cannot pay for it. Some of them cannot hire a tractor. But when they come together as cluster, being empowered properly, they can be able to now produce from again, like I said, moving from manpower to mechanization. I think that is the headway.
Yes, I understand you. And also to take you on one of your points, you said that the farmers need to come together to form clusters, to work together as a team. Thereby, they can access new technology to improve on their farming methods. Well, recently, to also curb this situation and also the protest, in the Yobe State governor also announced measures to also curb the hike in the prices of grains. And he also said that traders who are hoarding should also stop this. Then he put out some punitive measures there. For instance, he said that in partnership with the security agencies, that they are going to start monitoring traders who export grains from Yobe State to other states, whereas the grains are not sufficiently enough in Yobe State. So how exactly will these punitive measures really work? Because we know when you hoard these goods, these traders make more money because they can sell it at higher prices. And that's what you mentioned concerning the local government. The local government needs to actually be on ground. This is the grassroots government. So how are they actually going to be on ground to actually interact with the people generally, the small, medium farmers there, before they take these goods to the grains to the market to be sold? Like, how are they going to actually make sure that hoarding, which is going on right now, it should be stopped actually? How can they achieve this successfully? Your thoughts?
Okay. All right. So business generally is for profit making. And every business person is in need for profit. However, one of the things the government needs to do is proper orientation, and building trust. The government needs to build trust with the people to make people know that, yes, we are here for you. First of all, the duty of every government is the citizens as their business. Like I was to say that I have a family. Let me just use my family to illustrate this. So if I tell my wife and my daughter that I don't have money, and every now and then, my wife and daughter see me with my friends, gallivanting in their parlor, and I am the chief of staff, ordering things for everybody. Then I come back home and I tell them I don't have money. Please, you people should bear with me. Everyone has emotion. At the point, they have to rebel against me. So the current government seems like we are still wasteful, even knowing the fact that the current economy of Nigeria is depressing. So when we build trust, like, okay, we're going to cut down our expenses as government for you people to know that, yes, we're feeling your plight and we're going to be doing this. We are not building trust, orientation. Then again, proper support for these farmers. When you're not supporting them properly, you cannot expect them, after they have spent their own resources, to invest in their business. You're not trying to tell them what to do and what not to do. But when we support them properly, again, when I said properly, access to credit to these smallholder farmers, providing them support in terms of input in subsidized price. Again, government getting involved fully in terms of like how I put it, just like I said, in terms of mechanization, imagine when the Yobe State government tell the farmers, okay, we are going to be providing you these services. I want to applaud what the current governor of Niger State is doing. He's purchasing 500 tractors to boost agriculture in Niger State. Very applaudable. Also, the Minister of Agriculture, the Prime Minister of Agriculture, the current Minister of Agriculture, Kayari, is open up a partnership and said, if you want to do business in tractor to purchase tractors so that we can boost in agriculture. Now, when the citizens are being enlightened what the government is doing to support their business, they'll open up to want to contribute their quota to what the government is doing. But when the people are not properly oriented, when the people are not being educated, it's going to look like the government wants to just take advantage of them. And that is one of the things we need to address as a people. How is government involved in our business? Then the government need to have an open channel of communication with the people to build trust. Again, to build trust, the government needs to build trust with the people. Then it is easier for the government to direct these people's attention to be able to achieve a common goal. Most of us as Nigerians don't even know what the government wants to achieve. And this is affecting productivity. So governance, it's not a one-way thing. It's not left to government. It's both leadership and followership. And we must be able to come together, educate the people for us to be able to achieve this common goal.
Yes, Mr. Emmanuel, yes, I understand your input. Yes, government has to actually come together to actually achieve a goal. There should be between the government and the people, actually. We're supposed to flow. Yes, I understand that. But you actually said that to actually make sure that this situation of hoarding and the hike and increase in the price of the prices of grains should be stopped permanently. We need a permanent solution. Wouldn't it be better if the government should fix a stipulated selling price for these commodities? Because whenever this is left to the sellers or the business or the traders who harvest these products, and they have the liberty to actually decide how much they want to put out there in the market and how much what quantity rather they want to export. They are the ones who dictate the prices. So a government regulated selling price, wouldn't that be more effective? Mr. Emmanuel, please, your thoughts on this.
All right, yeah, I think I've seen that work in some part of the world, where especially Rwanda, where there is an agency that regulates price. So that can also help us. However, like I said, every solution has its own positive and negative side, especially when we have not addressed cost of production. So when we are going to regulate price, I think there are some few things we need to put in mind. Cost of production, how much is costing the producers to produce this particular product, this particular service to the people. Now, when we have this in place, I think having a regulation on our price will help. It actually helped again during the cashless era of Emefiele as the CBN governor when he introduced the new naira. The POS merchants were the one hacking the price at will until some states took the initiative to start addressing again that market shock, like how to address it. The states like Lagos State, or I think Ondo State, Ogun State. So the same thing can be done for us to have an effective measures in achieving some of this goal. So an agency will need to be set to actually look at price control. We need price control. Even Murtala Mohammed, during his, as the head of state, brought a solution like this. So we need to go back to this kind of solution. Again, like I said, during the new naira policy, the POS merchants were the one detecting how much you withdraw at what cost until some states have to intervene. So this is also a solution. And then again, when we bring in solutions or interventions or change policy, we also need to look at monitoring and evaluation to evaluate how it has impacted in the economy. Is it positive? Is it negative? Should we continue? Should we stop it? Should we improve on it and all of that? I think it's a way to go.
Okay. So you're saying that a price control, a price regulation from the federal government will effectively be able to regulate the prices of grains in the market. Okay, but do you think that these measures can crash the cost of the prices of grains if they are implemented immediately? Do you think that they can crash the prices of grains if they are implemented immediately? Yes, Mr. Emmanuel.
Yes, definitely, it will. Like I said, for an immediate solution, yes. But then we need to now start looking at the long-term solution, which is for farmers to be able to produce, because we still have shortage in production. Before now, our production is quite low. And that is why we depend heavily on importation of food, spending over how many billions of naira to import wheat, for example. Even dairy products, which are the dairy products, even when we have herders, farmers clashes in Nigeria. So at the immediate, yes, but at the long run, we need to address the line of production of food in Nigeria, which is one, supporting the smallholder farmers, addressing insecurity. Then when we support smallholder farmers, like I said, we're talking about mental support, social support, and financial support. We talk about mechanization, we talk about even smart farming. And there are a lot of groups that are doing quite well, but we need to now do this on a larger scale. Then again, youth participation in agriculture. Agriculture must be driven by young people, and we need to bring more youth. And this can be achieved when agriculture in Nigeria is now driven by technology and by mechanization. I think we'll now be able to address this not just at the short term, but also at the long term. Because when we address this now, like I said, it has its own effect when our production chain is not actually properly addressed.
Okay, yes, Mr. Emmanuel, yes, your points, to take you further on your points on how to address this situation permanently, you said climate change needs to be looked into, insecurity, the high cost of production. As you know, Mr. Emmanuel, we are currently in the dry, addressed farming in the dry season, and how this mechanized farming will be very effective to solve harvest so that we can actually make a good yield that can support this country all year round. So what do you recommend, Mr. Emmanuel?
When you look at Egypt, for example, when you look at Egypt, they do more of irrigation farming. Even in Rwanda has more short rainfall compared to Nigeria. And what they're doing is irrigation. We are blessed with the mighty Niger and the mighty Benue, the River Niger and River Benue. And I'm from one of the most beautiful states in Nigeria. I'm proud of that, which is Kogi State, where the mighty Niger meets the Benue. We need to encourage irrigation farming. We cannot have these big, mighty water bodies, and we're still talking about relying on rainfall when there are technologies that can enable us do both dry and wet season. So we just need to start investing in the right direction, in the right infrastructure. So again, irrigation farming, and this can be powered by young people. We have young people who are studying agriculture, and eventually most of them don't want to even go into agribusiness. Again, so when we invest in this infrastructure that can sustain us both the dry and wet season, then we can be able to produce. We're able to meet our market and enough to even feed the world. I believe that Nigeria can feed Africa because we have over 60% of our land that is arable. Over 60% of our land that is arable. And with good partnership, I tell you, with partnership between the private and the public sector. Let's say, for example, we're trying to do a project in Kaduna State, and we're asking the government, give us 1,000 hectares of land. We're going to empower 1,000 youths. We're going to engage them to farm. And now, because we're engaging young people, we're introducing technology. We're also introducing mechanization. Now, imagine if we replicate the same thing in the 36 states of Nigeria. We are going to boost food production. So this can be achieved if we drive in and we invest in the right infrastructure. Then bringing in people into the Ministry of Agriculture who actually understand agricultural investment to become commissioners and directors in this place. So when there are some sensitive ministries that we should not select or appoint commissioners and ministers by all I put it from emotions, but from track records, proven track records, so that we can drive results and impact.
Hey, Mr. Emmanuel, yes, please just hold your thoughts on that, Mr. Emmanuel. We'll go on a short break. When we get back, we'll still be discussing with Mr. Emmanuel Abusin how to solve the hike in the prices of grains. Join us after the break.
Tafawa Balewa Square, TBS. Tafawa Balewa Square was initially used as a horsing ground called Lagos Race Course. The edifice was constructed by General Yakubu Gowon in 1972 and named after Nigeria's first Prime Minister, Sir Tafawa Balewa. Tafawa Balewa Square is located at 45/57 Marse Bangboshe Street on Lagos Island, Lagos, and referred to as TBS. TBS is a 50,000-seater capacity venue and houses the Remembrance Arcade, the 26-story Independence House, which at a time was the country's tallest building. When Lagos served as the country's seat of government, The National Assembly Complex was within the TBS. Also in the square are the National Broadcasting Commission Office, the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency Office, shopping centers, travel agencies, restaurants, car parking lots, and a bus terminal. Tafawa Balewa Square is adorned with beautiful statues of white horses and red eagles, symbols of strength and dignity. Our historic neighbors include the King's College and the Holy Cross Cathedral. Tafawa Balewa Square hosted some of the country's memorable events, such as the Independence Day in 1960, when Nigeria gained independence from Britain, the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, which is celebrated annually on January 15. The edifice is a national cultural asset. Tafawa Balewa Square, Souk Enlightenment.
Welcome back. I'm still discussing with Mr. Emmanuel Abusin on how we can solve the man-made scarcity of grains currently ongoing in the country. So, Mr. Emmanuel, yes, you've been sharing your thoughts and your opinions on how we can adequately solve this issue. And you have also said that what the solutions the government's proffered are immediate solutions, but what we need is a more permanent solution. So, based on that, the President of the country, President Bola Tinubu, said that the grains that the government reserve should be opened up immediately, and the grains from the Rice Millers Association should also be released to the people immediately. So do you think that this can solve the hike in the price of rice, for example? It can actually reduce the hike in the price of rice and other grains significantly. Yes, Mr. Emmanuel.
Yeah, like I said earlier, yes, for the immediate, yes. Well, after a long while, it's not going to be sustainable. Any interventions that we're preferring now and has no sustainability, it's still going to have its effect on our economy. Just like when Ngonzo Joella was telling the then president that we should save. We should save, but we did not save. So we came to a point where we now have a lot of market shock affecting, because the cost of inflation in Nigeria is different from what is happening in Australia, it's different from what is happening in the UK, it's different from what is happening in America. So we need to understand why are we here? Some years ago, the then president, head of state, Yakubu Gowon, said, Nigeria is so rich that the problem is not money, but how to spend money. And as at that time, China was coming to Nigeria to borrow. But look at where Nigeria is at today. Let us look at where China is. So again, like I said, if our interventions are not sustainable, it's no longer intervention. It is like an emergency. And we have not gotten to that state yet. So we just need to start looking around why are we here? Then we address it solely. The previous government, we've had issues around waste. We have had issues around not saving. We also look at some elements, like I said, our Ample Rice program was meant to make rice production, to boost rice production. So if over 1 trillion naira was invested in agriculture, the CBN Annual Grants Program, they were only able to recoup over 500 billion, meaning another 500 billion is still with the farmers. So what are we doing at? What are we driving at? What am I saying in essence? Our interventions must be sustainable, and we must address this problem head front. Again, will this solve maybe an immediate? Yes, but how long can this be sustained? That is the question we should be asking. And that is where addressing these issues, like I mentioned, conflict, insecurity, climate change, empowering smallholder farmers come to play. So when these smallholder farmers are being empowered, then we cannot have production, for government now also to be involved in production, and we can still have food in our reserve. Because when we spend what we have now, what are we going to spend tomorrow? And we've not even talked about harsh climate change. Let's talk about flood. Let's talk about drought all over Nigeria yet. So we must be prepared for the future. Before now, again, like I said, we consume over 6.5 million tons of wheat, producing 420,000 of tons of wheat. And then we have states, like 13 states in Nigeria can produce wheat. There are many states in Nigeria that can produce rice. So we, like Niger State, Kogi State, Nasarawa State, Adamawa, Kebbi, so we need to go back to our production line, empower our production so that we can have sustainability in most of our interventions.
Okay. So, Mr. Emmanuel, you are saying for a more permanent solution, we need to actually create more sustainable goals like solving the headers crisis, solving the insecurity crisis and other conflict situations. Okay, but in terms of productions, could you also give us more permanent production solutions? Yes, we know our population in Nigeria is growing every day. So what we are producing needs to actually match what we are actually, the current population growth. So how can you give us, last question, Mr. Emmanuel, how can you prefer a more permanent Welcome back. I apologize for that technical difficulty, but before we went on a short break, we were talking with Mr. Emmanuel Abusin, and he recommended that the government should prefer more permanent solutions to solve the hike in the prices of grains. That being said, let's look at our parallel market reports for today and the central bank rates for today also. The parallel market, please. So these are the central bank rates for 12th February. The dollar, the Naira is buying the dollar at 1,514 Naira and selling at 1,515 Naira. And the Great British Pound Sterling, the Naira is buying the Pound Sterling at 1,911 Naira, selling at 1,912 Naira. And the Euro, the Naira is buying the Euro at 1,631 Naira, selling at 1,632 Naira. So these are the official rates from the Central Bank of Nigeria website for the 12th of February. So let's take a look at the parallel market rates for today, 13th February. So the dollar at the parallel market is buying for 1,490 Naira and selling at 1,495 Naira. The Great British Pound is buying at 1,890 Naira, selling at 1,895 Naira, while the Euro is buying at 1,585 Naira, selling at 1,600 Naira. So these are parallel market rates for today, 13th February. And that's it for us on the currency market today. Thank you so much for joining us on Market Insight, where we share our commodity results and stock market analysis and currency updates. Do stay tuned tomorrow again when we discuss more on the commodity markets. Thank you for joining us today.